What's going on? Reaction Committee, episode 2 officially. Guys, how we doing? Dak, Stu, Kreitz here. How we doing, fellas? How we doing?
I mean, we're doing all right, but I got some thoughts
got
after
some
this top
thoughts.
25. A lot
Top
of thoughts
20.
after this weekend of top 25.
Top 25 just released. Stu, how we feeling?
I think we're feeling great, boys. I think we got some boring rankings, but I think we got some interesting takes to go with these boring rankings.
Yeah, I agree. And Stu kind of brought it up right there. Boring rankings, as in they didn't change a lot. Top 10, only team taken out of the top 10 was Oklahoma. Rightfully so. They lose to Oklahoma State, Bedlam at Oklahoma State, and that's it. So the top 25, let's just go down the list. We're going right into it, guys.
All right.
Yeah, so getting into the top 25 here, Kansas State coming off the fresh loss in overtime to Texas and Austin. We got North Carolina there at 7-2, getting into 24. Tulane, the Green Wave at 8-1. Iowa moving up. They weren't ranked, and they're already at 22. With Arizona as well, a 6-3 team that deserves a lot of credit, in my opinion. They have beat 3 ranked opponents, and that's why they are at 21, in my opinion, at 6-3. Notre Dame, fresh off a loss to Clemson down there in South Carolina. They are 7-3 as well. LSU, I mean, we're rooting them on a rustic tap here down in Austin, Dak. We got to move on from there. We're 0-4. LSU loses to Bama in Tuscaloosa. Tough one. Close game. Sorry. I mean, hey, we're going to cheer them on in Baton Rouge. We'll get into that.
That's all right. That's all right. It's a good game.
It is what it is. Utah there at 7-2 at 18. Oklahoma loses, and they lose to Oklahoma State. Bedlam. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma, like I said, fraudulent. Kansas, the mighty Jayhawks, Rock Chalk Jayhawk at 7-2. Oklahoma State moves up 7 spots. I believe that's got to be the most of any team. Technically, that wasn't in the rankings. We are going Mizzou after that at 14. They just lost by 9 at Georgia. It was impressive. We'll get into that game more a little bit too. Tennessee, they're at 13. They played who was it? I don't even remember, to be honest. I think it was UConn. Actually. I think it was. Bring up UConn again.
It was UConn, yeah.
Yeah, UConn. 7-2.
Stinky game.
Oregon State. Right. Oregon State 7-2. They are at 12. There's Louisville. I was kind of wondering if they would get them in the top 10. Their resume doesn't really speak enough to be a top 10 team, in my opinion, and that's why they're at 11.
So Penn State does.
But Penn State, it's a fair point. Penn State, they're at 8-1. They play Michigan this week at home, so that'll really be a test for them. Ole Miss moves up. They take care of business against Texas A&M in the Grove, 8-1. Alabama, they beat LSU. They're 8-1. They are a sleeping giant there at 8-1. I mean, we'll get into that, fellas. Only reason they're not 7, maybe even 6, is because of Texas, right? Got me.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. Yeah.
We'll get into it, but I think this team should be 6 if it wasn't for that Texas game week 2. There you go. Longhorns, they survive in Austin against Kansas State. Kansas State remains ranked all the way at 25. Texas limps away in overtime in Austin. They are 8-1 at 7. Oregon took care of business, smoked Cal. It took a little bit of time, but they did it, and they whomped them. Then Washington goes into USC. This is a game we'll definitely touch. Beats Caleb Williams. Michael Penix outduels them in a classic Pac-12 no defense game, 52-42. There we go. Florida State at 4. They beat Pitt. Michigan beats Purdue at home, night game. They are still at 3, so we have no change. I believe Bama on. We have no change because Oklahoma was there at 9, correct?
Yeah.
Michigan 3, Georgia there at 2. Georgia beats a Mizzou team, as we just listed. They were 12 at the time. They beat them by 9. They don't cover. They were two touchdown and some extra. I think it was 15 is what we had it at.
So who cares, right?
That's why I took Georgia at, to be honest.
Yeah.
They win by 9 points at home. And then the big Buckeyes, they beat Rutgers despite losing, being down 2 at half, in New Jersey, and they are the number 1 team still to this day. This is the second rankings there's been from the committee, and we haven't seen a lot of change. I personally, guys, I'm gonna be honest here. I have my list from earlier today when I was on air, and I actually had 2 different things here. I thought the committee was going to give Georgia the nod, beating a top, the 12th team in the country, only loss being to LSU at the end there at home. And I thought maybe, this was more debatable, just because of resume. I thought Washington maybe was going to bounce FSU. LSU now with 3 losses, not as sexy of a win. Let's just call it how it is. But they still have to stay at 4. I mean, it's a very good team. It's no disrespect to FSU. It's a very good football team. But they stay at 4. And nothing changes, 8 up. So we'll get into it here. Stu, if you want to throw up we're talking JMU, let's talk a little JMU, right? I mean, we got to give some love to the Dukes, who are undefeated. The only 2 undefeated teams not ranked, Liberty. Liberty is going to be one of those teams as well. Liberty takes on Old Dominion at home. Old Dominion is 4-5. They should beat them. But more importantly, JMU. JMU is their second year in Division I football. They're not getting any love from the committee. I don't think the AP poll is giving them anything either. I've looked at the rankings of who's got votes or whatnot. They're not even in there. So this has to be something to do with the fact that they can't, because they're the second year, and the NCAA has put this rule down that they can't make a bowl game. They can't go into the postseason at all. JMU getting no love. And I think I just saw a report come out that they're going to appeal this and see what they can do, and as they should. I mean, I don't really understand why JMU doesn't get 2 years in. Why does it take 2 years for them to? They're 9-0.
I don't get it.
It makes no sense. If they're 12-0 or 13-0, whatever it would be in the Sun Belt.
Why is that rule there? Is my question. Like, literally,
I don't know.
What is that rule protecting? Like, do they?
I didn't know going into this year. I knew last year they couldn't make a bowl game. I didn't know going into this year they couldn't make a bowl game again. That makes no sense. Why put them in a conference? Why make them D1 if they can't play postseason games? That doesn't make sense in my eyes.
Why? Yeah. Why the hell would you go, bro? Teams that go D1, like, I feel like they go D1 because they think they're good enough to compete, like, at that level, and then they get to that level, and you say, oh, well, if you compete too good, you can't make it to, like, what we're all trying to win. Like, it just makes literally no sense. Crazy that Kansas State and North Carolina are ranked ahead of JMU. Like, and the other thing that I was gonna say is, so, like, we were saying, do you guys think that the committee, or is the committee taking into factor this NCAA rule into why JMU's not ranked, or are they just not ranking JMU because they don't fuck with JMU or don't mess with JMU? Like, because the whole thing with Michigan too, they were saying that the NCAA or the playoff committee is not allowed to take that, like, into consideration, basically, because the NCAA isn't the same it's a governing body, and the playoff committee's not. So they couldn't be like, oh, Michigan's stealing signs. They can't be like number 3 or number 2. So, like, I don't know if that's why they're putting JMU outside the 25, or if they just literally don't respect JMU. No,
so that's kind of my whole thing is, like, I feel like, and I'm sick and tired of it. I feel like, and this might be me, like, you know, the meme, old man yells at sky. I feel like the College Football Playoff Committee is just back to what the BCS was. And what the BCS was just, you rank them based on who wins, who loses, and then the matchups they anticipate seeing come post conference championship games and come post, like, towards the end of the season. And, like, everybody loves a frisky team that is, whether non-Power 5 or one of the non-big teams that is going to get into a New Year's Six Bowl potentially, or is going to sneak into the top 15, like Tulane has been, and like they're leaving Tulane there at 23. Everybody loves a team like that. They would love to put JMU up there in the top 20, especially undefeated and how they have looked. Like, I'm shocked that they're not. And the only reason they're not doing that is because the College Football Playoff Committee is sitting there being like, well, they're not going to play anybody in the postseason, so we're not going to rank them where we should rank them, because we want the matchups, or we want the rankings how we have them right now to match up with the end of the year matchups. That's all they're doing. And that's exactly why they didn't shift 1 through 10. Because we just saw a fantastic slate of college football games this past weekend. And I get it. A team like Oregon went in and they took care of business against Cal. Texas, they took care of business against Kansas State. And I know those are top 10 teams, but you look at a team like Alabama just played a gritty game against LSU. That's an awesome victory. That's a crazy win. Georgia just had a major game against Mizzou, and they get no movement. Ohio State struggles against a team. I don't hate Rutgers, but they were down at the half to Rutgers. Is that your king? That's your number 1 team in college football? Really? You're going to leave everything the same? Like, that's what you're going to do right now? They are literally playing it to the point where I'm sitting here thinking, why are you dropping a new ranking every single week? If nothing's going to change, just leave it and say, here's our final rankings going into the conference championship games. We'll see how things shake up after a week. Just do that. Because dude, if you're not going to switch anything up, why are you dropping weekly rankings if you're pretty much just saying, here's how we think things are going to play out? Not our weekly rank. These are not weekly rankings. Because that 1 through 25, that's not the 1 through 25 teams. That's what they think 1 through 25 will end up being. And they shift teams accordingly to wins and losses. Same with JMU. They shift teams accordingly, but they're not actually ranking them how they think they are current day, current state after last week, 1 through 25. And it's getting annoying because JMU sitting at 26, that makes no sense. Ohio State sitting at 1 after last week, that makes no sense. You got to, if you're going to drop weekly rankings, you got to move some teams. Even every team has, every team has a path in front of them. Let them prove it, but shift it for a week, dude. You got to.
Bama would smoke Ohio State if they played next weekend or this upcoming.
Exactly, and sure, week 12 that might be different, but right now, current state, that is. I know there's no way that's how the committee thinks it actually is. Like there's no possible way. That's what they're doing to JMU. You guys, I don't know if you think the same, but that's what they're doing to JMU. They're saying you're not getting in the postseason. Why would we rank you? We want these ranked teams to match up later in the year. That's what we want. So we're not going to push somebody out and put you in.
No, I agree. I completely agree. I think it's strictly because of that. There's no love for them because it doesn't make sense to me why Kansas State, who now has 3 losses, they've lost to some good teams, but they should not be a 25 team at this point in time. Plain and simple.
Same with North Carolina, bro. A win against Campbell doesn't get you in the top 25.
A win against Campbell after they tanked them because they lost.
And I think Kreitz too, bro. I think you hit the nail on the head, bro, with Bama being where they're at. Like if Texas wasn't ahead of them, if Texas had another loss, they would be at number 6 right now.
Probably 6. I think so, right? If they didn't play Texas and it was somebody else, let's say they played anyone ahead of Texas, right? Fine. Mm-hmm. Like besides, I guess, for this case, because we said 6 at Oregon. This is just because of that. There's a roadblock for them. It's like, well, Texas did beat you at home by 2 scores. They won by 10. So, all right. So, Kansas State, they're at 25. North Carolina is taking on Duke, big rivalry game. That'll be in Chapel Hill this week. We got Tulane going against Tulsa. I believe that's in New Orleans there for a home game for them. Iowa taking on Rutgers. I'm very interested in this game. I think Rutgers is a feisty team. Like we said, I was saying it off air here. Not frisky, but even feisty. You can throw frisky in there. They're feisty. I like Rutgers. They're 6-3. They're 6-3. They just lost to Ohio State. The only losses, I would say they lost to Penn State. They lost to did they lose to Penn State already? They lost to Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. Is that it?
I don't know if they lost to Penn State yet.
They lost to Penn State.
Whatever.
I don't know who their other one was.
I know they lost to Michigan and Ohio State. That's 2 of their 3 losses.
Similar scores. Yeah.
So Iowa there at 22. Arizona taking on Coach Dion. We haven't heard about Coach Dion in a while. Arizona taking on Dion and the Colorado Buffaloes. That's in Boulder. There you go. 10.5 down there. How are we feeling about Zona? What about these Cats? Let me mention this too, Dak. Texas, Bama, we both touched on a little bit, and now Arizona are the only 3 teams that have 3 ranked wins. They have 3 ranked wins in the resume. So Arizona comes out of the woodshed here. We're not ranked, but I think fully deserve a ranking here. They beat UCLA last week. Arizona.
They got a Dax dog. They got
a Dax dog. They got a Dax dog. And you sent the question out. What's better, Pac-12 freshman of the week or Dax dog? I think it's Dax dog. And my Dax dog obviously was their freshman quarterback, Noah Fafita. I think that's how you say it, Fafita. And
that was my Dax dog. Name wrong on the post. Sorry about that, Noah.
It's all right. That's fine. Who cares? It's good. Noah Fafita. And since he took over at quarterback, they have been balling. They more than deserve to be in the top 25. I thought they could maybe be top 25 last week, but they weren't going to – week 1, they weren't going to put any 3-loss teams in there. Now there's a few 3-loss teams in there. They have a lot in front of them. Do I think they could go to some sort of New Year's Six Bowl? I don't know. At 9-3, they got to win a lot of games. Who are they playing next? Remind me. Anybody?
They are playing against Colorado.
I was saying after that. So they play Colorado, they play Utah, and then they play Arizona State. Those are 3. Arizona State has been a little frisky themselves. Those are 3 wins. If they can rattle that off, and I have absolutely – I have all the faith in the world that they can do that. And so if they can go win those 3 games, I would take them against Colorado, maybe not to cover. Utah, that's frisky on frisky. That's a no-bet game for me, for sure. In Arizona State, they can take care of business. props to them, man. They should be dead. Jed Fish, good
Jed
for you.
Fish. Jed
Yeah,
Fish.
good for you.
And we've all been in the man's basement. Jed Fish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All weirdly been in the man's basement.
Yep.
And I mean,
Michigan days.
Of course, this is the year of the Pac-12. Every Pac-12 team is a little frisky because they all care. They all actually give a damn.
They're Big 12 next year, right?
They will be Big 12 next year.
They're Big 12 next year. But this is a year
State, Colorado, and Utah are the next.
Good pull for the Big 12 right there.
Good pull for the Big 12. This is the one year, the final year, where every Pac-12 team gives a damn. There's no easy Pac-12 games. I've never said that in my lifetime. My parents' lifetime, sure. I know the Pac-12 is a big deal. Not in our lifetime. And so Arizona sneaky. I'm glad they're top 25. They got the whole road ahead of them, dude. They could finish 9-3, 10-3. I'd love to see it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So Notre Dame there at 20. And then we got LSU.
Another Dak special.
We will be there. We were there last year, Dakota and I. Dakota, the proud alum of Baton Rouge's very own Louisiana State University. We will be there for the night game against Florida. We're going to make the trip. I'm very excited to go back. You will not be there. You will be still holding it down in Big Ten country up there in Michigan.
I'll be there in spirit with it.
You'll be there in spirit. We'll get you some gear if you want some. LSU is taking on Florida. 2-touchdown favorite night game in Death Valley. We will be cheering on loud and proud. LSU, man, great offense. They really held the whole time we were watching that game out. And I mean, Bama. I mean, they took care of business. The classic term. Jalen Milroe feels like he's really getting a feel for how to play the game. And this team is, I'll say it how it goes for Bama's sake. We'll move on to them eventually, but this is a national champion contender, 1,000% at 8. LSU, though, I mean, great offense. Defense has some issues. Dak, please, go into this a little bit. I like the 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to clobber Florida. I really do. I mean, maybe just because we'll be there cheering them on. That's probably partially that. But I mean, LSU. We gotta say, Daniels.
I feel like this is already we're like 10 minutes in. This is my third old man yells at clouds again. Okay, right. So I don't mean to keep doing it, but going into Bama, okay, like trying to go on the road, win in Tuscaloosa, that's already hard enough. And then against a Bama team who Nick Saban says it, the rat poison. Actually not somehow. This Bama team struggled early on, so they've gotten all the rat poison in the world. And then you have to go try to beat them back to back. After LSU's getting a lot of hype, they weren't favored, and not everybody was picking them.
3 points on the road, Dak.
Exactly,
I mean, that's a pick 'em essentially.
Dude, that's
3 points on the road.
That's a closer spread than 2019. Joe Burrow. That's a closer spread in Tuscaloosa than what that Joe Burrow team had in 2019. Okay, I will touch on Bama later because that's a different fact. I didn't feel great going into this game, but like, how are you going to feel great going into Bama? But that's partially because Bama looks very good. Biggest thing with LSU. Listen, man. Okay. I love Coach O. Okay. He's my favorite coach of all time. Obviously, what he did in 2019, that was fantastic. That's one of my favorite teams ever. When he left the program, it was in a bad state. It was going to take a minute to get everything back. And last year was an awesome step. They took care of Bama at home. That's a very different game. Very, very different game. They ended up winning 10 games. That's huge. They came in with a lot of expectations this year. Brian Kelly said it best. They're a good team. They're not great. It's easy to get to good. It's very difficult to take the next step into Bama and Georgia, great/elite. That is way more difficult. LSU is not there yet. What's upsetting and what's disappointing is Jaden Daniels still did his thing. He just needed more time, and he did not get that. Granted, did Alabama get away with murder? Yes, they did. That was full-blown targeting. It was called nothing, whatever. Is that why they lost? No. Why they lost is because Jalen Milroe had 4 rushing touchdowns, 4, which is absurd. Okay, but LSU's they still put up a fight. That's tough. LSU's going to get there.
Could have been
it's not the game that we wanted.
Could have been a Dak's dog.
Jalen Milroe is probably Dak's dog. That's probably Dak's dog. But I swear to God, I'll never do it. I will not do that. I won't. No, I won't do it. I won't do it. Jalen Milroe's not Dak's dog. You know, Dak's poop dog is LSU's defense. You can't get a dog against a wet turd dog. So you can't get Dak's dog against a wet turd dog.
Oh my God.
That's what it is. That's what it is. But I mean, Bama looks awesome. LSU, they are what they have been the last 2 years. it pains me because of how good this offense is, but this team is not there yet. But I still feel okay about the situation that they're in moving forward as a program. Because in the past,
Brian
we would have
Kelly
gotten
Natty coming. That's what you said.
sure.
Yeah.
In the past, we would have gotten pistol whipped. That's what would have happened, honestly. But we still stayed in the game. I know it was 42-28, but that's because it's high scoring, only touchdowns. Okay, it was a little closer.
I mean, it was
than that, so.
it was closer, especially at half. I mean, it was way closer. So
It
yeah, LSU there sitting at 19, even though with the 3 losses, a team that
I thought they'd be lower, so I'll take that.
I mean, the 3 teams they've lost to are all ahead of them, right? I mean, they're all pretty good. So
Yeah,
that's
all
fine.
right. So
that's top 10. Top 10.
yeah, Utah is going on against Washington here at 18. We'll touch on Washington a little bit later on. Game we definitely want to touch on, though. OU lost. Bedlam. I've been saying, I'm sorry, I've thought they're frauds. You guys know I've been really, really piping this, even with when they played Cincinnati. I took Cincinnati. That wasn't the call to make, but I don't think Oklahoma's there like people think they are. The schedule's extremely favorable. They won a really big game against Texas. Everyone was riding the Texas hype, as they should have. I mean, they beat them 49-0 last year, so that probably has just been on their mind for the whole year.
Stealing signs.
And they're probably stealing signs. They're all probably stealing signs. But Kansas has been the mighty Jayhawks at 16. I am extremely excited about the Jayhawks. I told Dak early on. I feel like I probably told Stu just for our conversations pre-season was I like the Jayhawks. I think they're getting kind of right, especially with I like Daniels there as their QB. I mean, he was a stud. He came in as the Big 12 quarterback going into it, first team Big 12. But they got Jamie Bean running the helm while he's been out, and he's been holding it down, man. Kansas is they're really a legit team that I had winning. They went going in 7-5, and people down here and Big 12 country are like, yeah, okay, they might win 6 games again. No, I think they're going to win probably 8 games. They might win 9 games. I mean, this team has Texas Tech. That's at home, 3.5. I like Kansas there. I'm not going to bet it just because I don't like the number. But I think the Jayhawks, man, they really are putting something together, and it's good to see. We talk about it. What year was it, Dak? Was it
07? 07.
It was
yeah.
2 versus 4, Missouri, Kansas. I mean, we're getting back to that.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome. And that's when Missouri obviously is still in the Big 12. But I mean, it's good to see Kansas
who
at
was
least
coaching Kansas then. Was that Charlie Weiss or whatever his name?
No, it was the other big guy. What's his name? Oh God.
We talked about this last time.
No, we keep forgetting this. He was also
I know. Here, I'll look it up.
Morbidly obese. I mean, just huge.
I'll look it up. Mark Mangino.
Thank you. They were the same size. It was the quad X.
He was huge. He was huge.
A big man.
And then I'll spit on Kansas too real quick for a second. I think so. I've taken them the last 2 weeks as my pick. I don't think they've been like my first one I've said on the show, but they've been in my 3 picks, my CMPs the past 2 weeks. And they've hit for me both weeks. I mean, I was high on them too coming into this season. I knew they were going to be pretty solid. I didn't expect Jane Daniels to be out like for the time he's been out these past couple games. But I mean, dude, kid was a dark horse Heisman favorite coming out of the year. So
Jamie Bean holding it down. Jamie Bean.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good team. Lance Leipold, he's a hell of a coach that they got over there. Yeah. I mean, Michigan State. I know they're looking for a new coach right now, and they're pretty heartbroken over the Urban Meyer pipe dream coming to an end. That's a coach right there. I would go after if I were you guys. That's all I got to
say. So the only time, actually, I've been on Kansas a few times and I've won. The only time I did lose actually was when they went to Stillwater, and that's where Oklahoma State is at 15 after beating OU Bedlam. I think we mentioned last episode. I think we got. Oh shoot, what's his name? God damn it. All right. Just if you can cut this too. Mike Gundy has only won 3 times in his career. Fuck you. Mike Gundy has only won 3 times against Oklahoma. I think he is 3. He was 3-15. He's been there for a while. I'm a man. I'm 40. Yeah, he's been there for a while. And he's lost a lot of games to Oklahoma, but a good way to send it off. I have some friends still out there. I went to college in Tulsa, the Tulsa area, Oral Roberts, go Oral. And a lot of Oklahoma State fans obviously there, and they were all cheering him on and playing the bye, we're never getting back together, all that crap. You know how it is. And I would still like Bedlam when the SEC kind of settles down and we get this whole new format going. Keep Bedlam. All right, it's a great rivalry. Don't throw that away. Don't let that be it's even better than a Michigan Notre Dame. Like, yeah, those brands are big. But like in state, like, come on, like keep Bedlam. So whatever. But getting on to 14-13 and they play each other. That is the Missouri Tigers. And yes, it's true. Missouri is hosting them, and they are the underdogs here. Tennessee is a 1.5-point favorite in Columbia. I think all three of us, when we saw this line, maybe it's fool's gold. I don't think so. I like Mizzou. I know Dak loves Mizzou. Give me the Tigers at home. This is a meaningful game. They really showed out. Only lost by 9. They covered against Georgia. This is a good football team.
No, I agree. And like, I mean, go for it, Stu. But like,
I just wanted to say real quick, I'm sorry for spoiling it right now, but unless this is one of your boys' pick, this is probably my pick for the week right now. The one I'm gonna say on it.
It's up for grabs, right?
Not my pick of the week, but that's one of my picks. I mean, I don't get it. Like the spread, I don't understand. What has Tennessee done to deserve that? Right. I get it. Like so Tennessee, their 2 losses on the road against Florida. That's a tough game. Despite what Florida is, like that's a night game in the swamp early on in the season. And then they lost to Bama, of course. Who has Tennessee beaten? That makes me go, oh, Kentucky. Is that who it is? That makes me go like, yeah, Tennessee is the 13th ranked team in the country. They deserve to be over Mizzou. Mizzou has lost a tough game at home against LSU. They lost a very tough and gritty game against Georgia. And obviously they beat Kansas State on a 61-yard field goal early on in the year. But Mizzou's awesome. They're a fun team. I think they deserve to be favored. I think they deserve to be ranked higher than what Tennessee is, at least right now. And this could be some sort of letdown spot for them if they were playing, let's say, 20th ranked South Carolina. Let's say that's what the game was. I'd be like, oh, shoot, okay. This could be a game where maybe Mizzou lets some people down and they lose. Tennessee at home, give me the Tigers, man. Give me the Tigers. Mizzou's awesome. Their offense is awesome. They're going to take care of business. And it's just it's the name. That's what's keeping them there. It's the Mizzou name is keeping them stuck where they are and the 2 losses. Otherwise, they look better than a lot of teams in that top 15. I truly believe that. Truly believe it.
I fully agree. Yeah, no, 100%. I think Mizzou, big call for the week. This is going to be my pick, spoiler alert, and I'm going to say that Mizzou handles this and covers easily. I think they probably win by like 10, to be honest, or somewhere around that. And I am also putting Luther Burden on Dak's dog watch as well.
I like it. But you're a Joe Milton guy. Right.
I'm not a Joe Milton guy. No.
You think Joe Milton? No, you told
man, he can throw it 80 yards.
Before the show started, you said Joe Milton should be maybe a top 5 pick potentially. You said you love him.
If I felt that way, he would be on Dak's dog watch right now.
yeah. Luther Burden. I love it. All right.
So yeah, 12 there, Oregon State. They continue to win a lot of games there in the Pac-12. Louisville. And like I said, I thought maybe there might be a shot they could get in the top 10 here. I guess Penn State, they play Michigan, so we'll see. I mean, they'll probably be moving there no matter what the outcome was of that game. Louisville at 11 against Virginia. That is home in Kentucky there. What do you think of this game? Louisville, are they a little bit? I mean, they're still, in my eyes, they're still alive. They're still alive. You win the ACC, you can maybe get a 4-3, depending on what it is. If you beat Florida State, obviously in the ACC championship, don't have to play in regular season. But yeah, what do we think about Louisville, Stu?
All right, Louisville. We're going in. Jeff Brom and the boys, Jamari Thrash and the gang. 20.5-point favorites against Virginia this week. I'm going to be honest, it's a lot of points. I'm not sure. I don't think I would bet on them personally to cover that. I do think they win the game still by like 2 touchdowns or so. I think it's going to be an easy dub. I think after handling a friskier Virginia Tech team last week, I think they should have this easily against Virginia. I like Louisville's chances the rest of the season in their games against Miami next week at Miami, and then they got Kentucky at home. I would pick them in either of those games. And so I think they're going to make this a little bit interesting as we get down to these last couple weeks in the college football rankings. So it's going to be fun to see where the committee ends up punting them if they do end up running the table. Yeah, hopefully they don't get screwed over like some of these other lesser named teams have been.
Yeah,
they're playing a little Big West schedule, low key, like teams that they've played, but they're cooking through it. And the ACC, like, you don't get the same bad stigma as like everyone knows Big Ten West. Oh, doesn't matter. And so they can boost themselves a tiny bit, especially if they get ACC championship game. That would be
totally,
like you said, fun to watch.
Fun to watch. You went out. I mean, you're in the combos here, especially what happens in the Pac-12. We'll get to
a
the
good
top
story.
10. Good story. That's what we like to hear.
I mean, let's just call it how it is. If they end up playing, so they would play Florida State in the ACC championship, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no.
Who's not rooting for Louisville in that? Unless you're.
I'm rooting for Louisville all day.
Rooting for Louisville
all day, every day. I'm rooting for the Cardinals there. Number 10, top 10, Penn State.
I think only tidbit is like, thank God they're 10 and Ole Miss jumped them. It was different last week, right?
Yeah, and I'll say this about Penn State too, is that they did handle Maryland. They beat a Maryland team that I think most Big Ten watchers would say is a frisky Maryland team. Good offense. I mean, most teams they play, they put up points against, except for against like Illinois, I guess. But I think that's a good win. They bodied them at home at Maryland. I mean.
Yeah, Maryland, I agree that they started off the season. I was really hot on them. They obviously a little bit less gas now, but still not. I mean, to go out and clobber them like that after I lost my pick to them. They had a close game against Indiana at home. Yikes. But they go out and they say, hey, we're the 10th team in the country here. Keep us alive, because they are alive until they play Michigan. Mm-hmm. And depending on what happens in that game, if they beat Michigan at home, they're extremely alive still, in contention for all. I mean, even if, but then Michigan, you could get into. We'll get into details there. Michigan would have to.
Oh, it gets
schedule thing. That's when Penn State.
I mean, I think you boys know this already, but just for if we got anyone listening, so let's say Penn State beats Michigan this weekend, and then Michigan beats Ohio State.
Don't do the science ones.
It's gonna be chaos. It's gonna be fucking crazy.
Right, and then Ohio State has the nod over Penn State. If Penn State then beat Michigan, I'm confused as to how that would work.
So Penn State would make it. I do believe.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're right there. So Penn State would make it if that's their only losses to Ohio State at Ohio State. Ole Miss staying alive and well. They beat Texas A&M at home. Close game there. Texas A&M's got a lot of good players. Just a not great coach, in my opinion. Jimbo, hot seat alert. A hot seat alert. I'm going to have to do a little segment for the hot seat alert. It is getting hot for Jimbo. I'll tell you that right now. And the oil money Aggies, they can pay that buyout. I'll tell you that right now. And I think they might be making calls to Urban Meyer that the call would be a little bit more meaningful than Michigan State. Ole Miss goes to Georgia. Night game here. Georgia is favored by 11 points. Ole Miss getting the plus 11 there in Athens. Yeah, Ole Miss takes on Georgia in Athens. We'll touch on that more once we hit our top four. Bama takes care of business against LSU. And Bama has a big one here. I don't think it's that big of a game. I like the 10.5 points they're getting at Kentucky. Kentucky, Alabama, that'll be in Lexington. Like I said, 10.5. Roll Tide. They are rolling with Milroe. He is looking like a quarterback that belongs at Alabama now, number one against his performance, as you touched on, Dak. It was impressive. He's a stud. And it took him a little bit of time to get in his, get into his bag, one might say, but like Bama is a sleeping giant at 8, and we've touched on it already a few times. This team is not the 8th best team in the country. I'm convinced. This team is a national champion contender, and I think Saban does not mind them not being talked about at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think we touched on it a little bit last week for those who listened in. But this Bama team, it looks like Bama teams of old, where in the past, obviously, they had Tua, they had Hurts, you can throw in Mac Jones, obviously Bryce Young, whereas they switched to all offense. And Saban said, we're not doing that this year. We're going to lean on our defense, and they've done that heavy. I don't think Milroe has found his bag. I think finally they're like, all right, we're going to let you do what you're good at. Because against Texas, the reason they lost is they were trying to keep him in the pocket. and they were trying to make him throw the ball a lot. Where against LSU, granted, I'm not going to give him too much credit because LSU's defense is that bad. But against LSU, all he did was run the ball all day. Yeah. And if that's what you're good at, all you have to do is keep your offense on the field, score 30-plus points. That defense is good enough. They're going to take care of the rest. And I think if it wasn't, like you said, Texas is that roadblock where that's the reason they haven't jumped them because of that loss. If it was anybody else, anyone else, they're sitting there at maybe 4. Like, despite the undefeateds, they're sitting there at maybe 4. But because that Texas lost, they're keeping them at 8. Right now, if I'm Georgia, I'm scared of Bama. If I'm Michigan, I'm scared of Bama. If I'm Ohio State, I'm scared of Bama. If I'm whoever, I am scared of Bama because they have that goddamn rat poison. And that's what they call it. They call it the rat poison. They haven't had it for real in a few years, and they got it now, and it's dangerous. Yeah. They're more than frisky. They're full-blown contenders, man. Full-blown.
Yeah, no, it's hit the nail on the head with if it was anyone else but Texas they lost to. I mean, they could be at 5, honestly, I think. Potentially, depending on in this hypothetical world, like who else they would have lost to besides this. There's an argument for them at 5, like especially after Washington had that game against Arizona State, when they had their 2 little lull weeks they had. I mean, I don't think it's too crazy to think Bama's sitting at 5 right now if losses to anyone but Texas.
And if they don't have a loss, if they beat Texas hypothetically, that might be number 1. That's kind of where we're at right here. Like
they would be. They're 1.
Because Texas.
Think about who won right now is Ohio State. Like they, like come on.
Yeah. That's your king.
That's your king.
That's your king. That's your king.
Ryan did just for men. So yeah, I mean, speaking of Alabama being number 5, they lost to anyone but Texas. I think we should just rip right into Texas at TCU, Kreitz, if you want to steer this one.
Yeah. Texas goes up to Fort Worth here. They're favored by 10. TCU's getting the 10 there in Fort Worth. Night game, man. I think last 7 out of 10. I think it's now 8 out of 11. TCU has won. They won last year at DKR here in Austin. And TCU doesn't have Max Duggan. They don't have Quentin Johnson. They don't have a lot of the guys that went to the draft. Obviously, that TCU team was special. But this is an interesting game. Malik Murphy, listen, I like Malik Murphy a lot. The kid's only played, he's 19. He's only played 2 games now. That was his second game against Kansas State. And they both were home games. So, a lot of pressure on the guy. I mean, it's a school and it's a program, and especially where they're at right now, where there is a ton of pressure. You lost to Oklahoma. Even if you weren't to lose to Oklahoma, then even maybe more pressure just to stay undefeated. But it's a survive and advance. And it's kind of waiting for Quinn Ewers to come back. And Quinn put on his story, some cryptic a little bit. He's listening to some old country, essentially the song and the lyrics. If you look at his Instagram, were "Let me free," "Let me." Pretty much, I think what he's trying to say is "Let me loose." I'm good enough to get this going, even if he's 75%. And I like Malik a lot. I really do. I like Quinn there. I like Quinn in that spot against TCU. They got 2 tough road games. Say what you want about these teams with Iowa State and TCU. They got all the rest of their games are night games, both right there, TCU, and then they go to Ames for Iowa State. Then you get Texas Tech at home. You just have a huge target on your back if you're Texas, and you have all year. They're going to leave to go to the SEC. The Big 12 wants all these other Big 12 teams that are staying there want to beat Texas and be the team that did it and kept them out of the Big 12 championship, which another loss really probably would screw them because I don't think Oklahoma is going to lose another game. And they have the head on against them. So they need to just keep winning, but the playoffs is still right there for them at 7. They have that win against Bama is keeping them there at 7, as we've talked about, and holding Bama back to 8. So this will be tough. Sonny Dykes is 3-0 against Texas. 2 of the times he was with Cal, and then last year was first year at TCU. So he's never lost to Texas. Malik, if he plays, run the rock. And that's no discredit to Malik. I think he can throw it. He's fine. But don't get too cute here, Sark. That's what I have to say here. Don't get too fancy or crazy. You do great in the first half. Guys, they're up 3 touchdowns, and they're up 20 points. I think it was 27-7 at one point in that game, and it went down to OT. And I got to give credit to the defense. They held them. First play in OT. I mean, Texas gets stopped 3 and out, got to kick the field goal. Bern Auburn hits it. And then right away, I mean, we were watching it here, Dak. Right away, it gets to the 4-yard line. Like, all right, Texas is probably cooked. This is it. Longhorn
I
season.
thought they were done. I thought they were done.
Right there. And
No,
then
heart attack of the game. Heart attack.
Right. Yeah. And Texas holds, and I got to give them credit. Kansas State goes for it on 4th down. And people that I'm on air with here in Austin were saying, hey, why'd they go for it there? Because they were down 20.
Yeah.
You're on the road.
On the road.
Kansas State has built a winning culture there. They won the Big 12 last year against TCU, only lost that TCU had until Georgia clobbered them in the playoffs. But, yeah, I mean, that was their toughest game aside from Oklahoma and Alabama left on the schedule after Oklahoma. And they win, plain and simple. So they're still alive. I think they're going to beat TCU. I don't like the 10. I don't like this number at all. I think Texas is going to win by about a touchdown, if that. If I had to put a score on it, it's going to be 27-20. Texas wins. I don't like the 10 points. But Texas survives, and that's more me anticipating. There's going to be no Quinn. I think Quinn has about a 50-50 shot of playing.
I was going to say, if Quinn plays, I like Texas to cover.
Fair, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But this is an injury, and I know Texas of all places, and there's a lot of, these programs are going to get these guys healthy as quick as they can. They have, the resources to do so. This is an injury that really takes about a month, especially your throwing arm, your shoulder, to get over. And he's only been out for 2 weeks. This is coming up on 3 weeks. So,
well, and I was just going to say, I think you hit the nail on the head. Is like, lean on the run game, even with whether it's Quinn or whether it's Malik. I think they got to do the same thing because Jonathan Brooks is a dog. Yeah. And CJ Baxter, what he did in that first half against Kansas State, awesome. Like that.
They got the resources, man. They got the O-line to do it.
Exactly.
They got the running backs to do it. They have it all.
I feel like Texas is, for the rest of the year, they're on spooky watch. Like this game against TCU, spooky. You said Iowa State.
Ames. It's going to be like 40 degrees probably in Iowa.
Iowa State and Texas Tech, that's all spooky watch. And I was kind of other side of the coin before this week where I was like, I don't know if Texas can, I don't know if they can show enough to get to the playoff at this point, especially what Oklahoma's doing. I think that defense is good enough. They can lean on them and just make it to that 4 spot. What happens in the playoffs? I don't know. They can lean on that defense, lean on that run game, and do enough in the pass game. They can get there for sure. Games are going to be tough. Like you said, 10's too much. Probably more like 6 or 7, but they can do it, man. They really can.
Yeah, it's spooky games, but if they win them, they're there. So I mean, they definition of control your own destiny. Like
exactly
spooky games, but if you win them, you're there. That's all that matters.
At this point, let's just play hypothetical. They went out, right? All right, they went out. They're probably playing Oklahoma State at this point. Sounds like Oklahoma State having the head on against Oklahoma, only one Big 12 loss. And Ollie Gordon II, who's leading the country in yardage. He's balling. I mean, this kid's doing great. That is one thing Texas has proven. They can stop the run. I mean,
and that's a big win, too, if they can do that.
Exactly. I don't think if Texas wins out, I don't know how you keep them out of the playoffs because some of these teams are going to lose in front of them.
They're going to lose. There's not going to be that many undefeated. Yeah. It's just not.
Unless somehow Ohio State, Michigan play each other. Washington, Oregon already played each other. We know that are in front of them. Georgia will have to probably play Bama. I mean, there's losses coming up, and then Bama's sick too.
It's gonna be a little. I think Florida State's gonna drop one, but there's gonna be, and we can get into it, but there's gonna be a little like, ooh, Florida State or Texas. It's gonna be one of those. Right. And Texas has looked a little better.
And that Bama win might carry them all the way.
I totally agree, especially with Bama now. Yes, totally.
At Bama, like if Bama goes and just even if they win out, which they should, they got Chattanooga, they got Auburn, and somebody else in the SEC who's mid.
Yeah,
they're playing Kentucky. It's Kentucky, Chattanooga, and then Auburn in the Iron Bowl. They're going to the probably SEC championship. I don't see how they wouldn't unless Ole Miss pulls a miracle off, but they got the head on against them. So
they got the head on, yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I got. This will be a very important game. Again, like I said last week, so they could lose this game to Kansas State. They almost did. And this TCU game is a little scary to me, especially if Malik's playing. No discredit to Malik. I like the kid. Moving on, though, Texas, I think, wins this game. Oregon is there at 6. Oregon's playing USC. USC is cooked officially. We are calling it. The TRC cooked. We should do a little graphic for this.
TRC cooked.
Get the USC and Caleb Williams, and I want
fried chicken.
I want Coach on there too. I want them all on a grill because these boys are cooked. Caleb Williams crying after the game in the mother's arms, and I was talking about this again, and I just keep saying it on air. And people, oh yeah, you're gonna knock him for making make fun of him because he's crying in his mother's arms. Yes, because you know what on social media he did last year when Max Duggan lost the Big 12 championship, was crying to the press. He quoted it and said, "LOL, you look like a fool." And this team, USC, has no defense, and I think Oregon's going to come in and clobber them. It's at Eugene. Is there like a you hear that? There's like a very, I don't know, it just randomly started happening. I just hear like mad echo.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. You can't hear it through my headphones. Yeah,
I just can. That's the thing.
Okay.
You still hear it?
Yeah, I can. No, I can hear you through the door, but
right.
it won't come.
It's better now. It was weird. It was just really loud.
Yeah,
I don't know. All right.
You're good.
Sorry.
You're good.
It just was like crazy.
It's a snoozer game. It's a snoozer.
Yeah. Oh, this will be. I think Oregon's going to clobber them because they're going to need to for the committee's sake. They got a tough schedule coming up, but this is in Eugene. I think they're going to beat USC, beat Caleb Williams, and I just like Oregon here a lot. I think USC, like I said, I don't know what they're playing for. Their defense sucks, plain and simple.
I know, and I was on the side of the coin last week where I was like USC.
Big side of the coin.
I know. That's why I keep going back for it. Slip stop. Michael Scott, slip stop. And so I was at the point I was like, USC doesn't have that dog in them. When they were gonna go play, when they were gonna go play Washington, I was like, USC is not the team to be like, we're gonna play spoiler. We're gonna. They don't do that. Like they simply don't do that. After I saw what Caleb Williams did, obviously I was like, all right, I might be anti-Caleb Williams. Maybe I was too quick on it. I saw the Max Duggan thing, obviously. And so him saying that, like,
whatever. I mean, it is what it is, right? I just something to point out. Like, don't be a hypocrite. You know,
a lot of
it's worth pointing out for sure. Bro.
It's worth pointing out, but a lot of emotion after the game. Whatever. This has nothing to do with Caleb Williams. Whatever. I think it's gotten to the point USC legitimately is done. Caleb Williams has already talked about quote unquote coming back. He's not coming back. We know that, but he's clearly gonna play the rest of the year. And I still think USC, because their defense is that bad. And I'm a big fire the coach. I'm a big fire the coach. Things do get better. They fired their defensive coordinator. Things will get a tiny bit better. They're not going to beat Oregon by any means, but I think this is finally the game. And this is probably why I lose all of my bets. And this is why I'm always incorrect. But this is finally the game where I'll bet on USC. And I'll be like, okay, fine. 16.5 is too much. They have nothing to play for, obviously, and they're not a spoiler team. They don't play like that, but I think they'll actually go out and they'll put up a fight because they can score enough, and Caleb Williams clearly, after last game, is not going to just give up. I don't think the crying thing was just a show. I don't.
No, he was
a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And like, I don't think it, like some players, it's all, if he did it in the press conference, if he did a little Tim Tebow, like, we're going to play harder than anyone has ever played in my life. If it was that, I'd be like, all right, get him out of here. It was kind of behind the scenes. I don't think it's a show. So Oregon's going to take care of business, but I think this is actually a spot where you could take USC, and it's not the worst thing in the world. And I'm only saying that because I think that's going to be my pick, and that's the only reason why.
Gross.
That's what
This is all I have to say about this game is that I would never touch this game. It's simply because everything in my head is telling me take Oregon. The last team they played with a similar play style to USC was Colorado, and they smoked them. But I do get what Dak's saying because I do have this burning fire in my gut telling me that they got everything to prove. They got to come out here, like they're gonna come out here and ball out and like
to play for the Red Box Bowl. Yeah. All right.
And I'm contradicting myself by saying I don't think they have that dog in them, but I still think they have a little bit of the dog.
They might, and I'm not gonna be shocked if they do. And that's why I commend you for taking that as your pick this week, Dak. But I just personally would not be able to touch this one, honestly.
As our good friend David Ocampo would say, Bo Heisman, he is currently second in the Heisman
Gang, let's go.
Yeah, in the books, he's a second or third in Heisman odds. So I gotta give him credit. We were kind of joking with
R.I.P.
him.
Jaden Daniels.
He should paint Heisman on his fingernails.
Yeah,
bro.
he should. He should. Getting into the end here of the not top four, right? The four that make it, quote unquote, Washington. Washington is playing Utah, and that's in Seattle this week. That'll be 9.5. Washington favored there. That's a 2:30 game, so I think 2:30 our time, so it's probably early their time out west. But yeah, I mean, Utah, they're frisky. They're a tough team to beat. That's kind of the Pac-12 standard that's been for years, right? They won the Pac-12 a lot of Rose Bowl appearances. Obviously, Cam Rising out for the year. I think Washington's kind of turned it on. They had to duel it out. Michael Penix did, and like we said, all the Caleb Williams stuff. Like, he still put up 42. He still is going to be probably the top pick in the NFL draft. If I'm a franchise, I'm not the most excited about taking that guy. It would be funny if Arizona goes back for that. I don't know. Lincoln Riley guy. It's kind of feels very similar with Kyler. Whatever.
Besides, it's literally redrafting Kyler Murray.
It kind of feels like that, just with about 3 more inches to his name. I think Washington here 9.5. It's a good line. I'm not going to touch it personally in Seattle. I think it's going to be close. And so they got
Bryson Barnes, man, Dak's dog on the other side there.
Dude, that's kind of what I was going to say is
over there.
Yeah, that's what I
typewriter going over there.
I was trying to. Oh no, I was trying to look something up. That's my bad. But yeah. I know. I was legit. I was like, God damn it! I was trying to remember somebody's name. Honestly,
You're good.
It doesn't even matter. I was trying to look something up. So I was gonna. Here's the funniest part. I was gonna touch on Bryson Barnes, and I was like, wait, that was like my cue. I was like, wait, not. I was like, come on, I got it. And so it doesn't matter. But no, Utah. No, Bryson Barnes. They had that. Utah's always been on my no bet list.
Right.
And, right. You know that.
Yes.
Well, when they had Bryson Barnes early on, it was kind of on my let's bet this list.
Well, different. Little
different, but it turns out their best win was against USC. I'm not sure how impressive that is. Yeah. I think Utah was what you said in the Pac-12, kind of that almost, I hate to say it, Michigan State-esque, where everyone's
Michigan State of the
Pac-12. Yeah, exactly. Where it's like no one
Connor Cook a decade ago. Yeah.
Who's the Michigan State of the Pac-12?
He's saying Utah was like
the early 2010s Michigan State. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, they embody.
Let me explain. So the early early 2010s
years.
Michigan State, everybody was still picking like Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, whoever. And Michigan State they won their games. They had some upsets. They did it. Utah, I feel like it's
them though.
I feel like Utah has done that the last couple of years against Oregon. They've won the Pac-12 back-to-back years, and nobody expected it. I thought
you're picking the Stu MSU scab here, Dak. I mean,
I'm sorry, but they weren't expected to beat the teams the last couple of years that they beat, and they were underdogs the entire time. That's all I was saying.
All right.
Anyways.
That's fair.
Yes,
I know what you're
saying.
I got you.
It ain't that deep.
I think there's other teams that I don't know. I just feel bad for the Utah fans. They gotta think about.
Yes, I feel bad. I think Utah's at the point where I think it's probably this year. I think it's probably cooked.
Bryson and Washington at a side.
Yeah,
one, bro.
Yeah, and Washington, they continue to do their thing. They had the 2 tough weeks, obviously, against Arizona State and against Stanford. I don't think they were totally right in those games. Big games, they get up for it. USC was going to score their points. That Washington defense, I think, is still very good. And Washington, I think, is the top 4th team in the country. And they're going to continue to prove. They're going to continue to prove that. And I think they're going to take. I would take them over Florida State right now.
And I said that earlier. I thought they maybe would bounce them, because of resume here. I mean, you beat a ranked 20th Utah on the road.
If the committee had any balls.
They got no balls, and so I agree with you. I think that we've had some gross games prior to this, but I'd go Washington. I think they got a better resume. I think it speaks more for itself, and that's why I thought maybe the committee would have had the balls to put them at 4. And I get you can.
Because Florida State hasn't looked great, man. Like Florida State hasn't looked good in like 6 weeks.
What's their best win?
6 weeks.
What's their best win?
LSU.
Okay, and LSU now has 3 losses. Love LSU.
What's their second best win? Duke.
Yeah.
I think
Riley Leonard.
If Florida State and Washington were to play each other, I don't think that would be like a game I could touch. I think those are two
that's fair.
Not necessarily similar in play style, but I think in terms of like how good they are, I think they're pretty close. Both those two teams.
I actually totally agree.
I think they're kind of in that same tier, and I'd even throw Oregon in that tier, and I'd throw Texas in that tier. I think those 4 are kind of.
Bama might be better.
Bama's ahead of this tier.
Yeah. Bama's ahead of the tier. That's what I'm saying. Bama's ahead.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Bama to me is
I think Bama's our 4.
Probably 3rd or 4th.
Bama's my 4
right now
because I like Florida State, and if Florida State gets into the playoffs, which they have a very good chance of doing. And obviously that's the next team. We'll touch on it. But if they get into the playoffs, they're going to be a very scary team to play. And I would take them against any top 10 team, like matchup wise. It's going to look very nice. But in terms of what they have done, what they have shown, I would not want to rank them ahead of anyone.
Right.
I don't know if you guys, I wouldn't want to because they haven't looked good. Talent wise and team wise, they might be there. But rank wise, I don't know if I do that right now.
I was gonna say, I think what Florida State has with me still, I think, is their talent. I mean, I do think they got dogs on offense, and I think that's what like makes them look good to me still somewhat. But yeah, I think Bama. I'd take Bama over Florida State if they were playing like head to head.
Agreed.
100%.
And like I don't even think we really need to talk about Florida State, Miami really here. I mean,
Mario Cristobal does not know what he's doing over there. I'm going to say it right now. He's not figured it out. They need to move to Nike from Adidas. They look like fools.
Yeah.
Just have to put that out there as a uniform guy. What the hell is this Adidas shit? I'm going to say it right now.
I know.
What are we doing? All right, so Florida. Oh yeah, Florida State, Miami. Obviously, we touched on that. Now Michigan. Thank you, Sue. Michigan going to Penn State. Finally playing someone worth mentioning here. Their first ranked opponent. Good God, only took us to week 10. As Michigan fellas over here, lot going on in the Michigan world. Lot coming out. 4.5 gross number. Call me a homer. I like it. I think they're just a better team. Drew Aller is a wannabe JJ. I think that James Franklin is an asshole. I don't know why they didn't make this their night game. No clue why they didn't do that. Last time it was the night game. Infamous clip of Shea Patterson and the gang not getting off the first snap, having to use a timeout.
Hey, I will say, almost won that game. Yeah,
but they lost.
Ronnie
that's a class. That's like a Shea Patterson you missed. Almost won it.
It's an almost won it, but it was a really close almost won it.
And so what's crazy about that too? It's not like a scheduling thing. They said this was a day game legit before week 1. Like this was day game all throughout the year.
Well, yeah,
that's
big noon kickoff's got the contract. Yeah,
big noon kickoff
at Fox. Get ready for Maserati, Roman Wilson. Like, what are you doing here? We're gonna have Joel Klatt on the call. Whatever. I think Michigan will win this game. I think James Franklin, like I said, is a complete asshole and is just 3rd place in the Big Ten, and maybe will be about 5th place when the Big Ten, maybe 6th. Honestly, it's probably the 6th best team when you get Washington, Oregon, and those guys into the Big Ten next year. This would be a huge win for Penn State. Their season's revived, playoff hopes are there, and Big Ten implications, championship there as well. Michigan is all the stuff is going on with them, all of them in the media. I think this will be it gives Michigan a motive in my eyes to actually go clobber teams. Like they didn't cover against Purdue. They still won handedly. They beat them even when they switched their signs. And so I just think they're a better team. They're a better quarterback. They have a better defense, even though Penn State's defense is so sick and they're awesome on secondary, and that's great and all. I think that
no Chop Robinson though. Chop Robinson.
There you go. There you go. And that's a big loss to them. I think Michigan wins this. What do you guys think?
Jack, you want to hit?
Yeah. So I'm a big storylines guy, and we've talked about it a lot. Is like Penn State, since James Franklin has got there, they're a 10-2 team. That's what they are. They go to some Rose Bowls. Good for them. Happy for them.
A Rose Bowl.
They've been to 2, I think. No, didn't they go last year? Yeah.
They won last year. A Rose
Yeah,
Bowl.
and they went to when they played USC.
Oh, USC, right? Yeah, Sam
Sure.
Darnold.
Sorry.
My bad.
No, that's my bad. You're right.
Whatever. They're a 10-2 team. They go to some Rose Bowls. I thought this team maybe this year was a little bit different. I don't know why I thought that. They hadn't played anybody.
Drew Alla.
Yeah, they looked bad against Ohio State, and ever since teams got a smidge of film on them against Ohio State, they have not looked right. They haven't looked the same. Michigan's a better team far and away. Michigan's going to take care of business. There's not a lot to say. Like Penn State does not deserve to even be, and no disrespect to them, they're not a top 10 team in my eyes. Like if they went and played a bunch of other teams in the top 25, they would no longer be in the top 10. They would have multiple losses. But they haven't played a very difficult schedule. They've played one ranked team.
Are they beating Mizzou?
They're not beating. No, they're not. No, they're not going to beat Mizzou. No. I don't think they beat Mizzou. I think they would struggle mightily against I don't like Tennessee. They would struggle mightily against a team like Tennessee.
I think they could beat Tennessee though, but Mizzou,
I agree. Yeah. They could beat Tennessee. They would struggle mightily against a team like Ole Miss. And I'm only naming SEC teams here. I'm trying to think of some others, but a bunch of Pac-12 schools as well. Okay, they would struggle against Utah. There you go. They would struggle against
State's
Arizona.
At 12. That'd be a good game.
Sure.
Man.
Or Oregon State, good game. Regardless, I don't know if they're a top 10 team in the country. They haven't proved it in my eyes yet. It's one of those things where preseason they came in AP top 10. They only have one loss, and then until they play ranked teams like Michigan, and they obviously already lost to Ohio State, that's the only way you push them out. 4.5 is disrespectful to Michigan. It is. I know Michigan hasn't played anybody. I've been standing on the table for that, being like, how do you put a team like that at 1? They're not 1 anymore. They were AP. They're not for the college football playoff ranking, or they weren't AP. Sorry. They were almost.
2.
Yeah, they were 2. But still, it's like Michigan has looked so much better than Penn State has. Penn State hasn't looked good. This isn't a close game. This isn't 4.5. 4.5. It's not a 4.5. Despite the road game. If it was a night game, sure, I might change my tune a tiny bit just because college football leans so heavily on atmosphere and where you're going to play. But Penn State's not a better football team than Michigan. And Michigan is, in my eyes, 2 scores, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns better.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough game. I don't want to, come on here as the big homer. Especially I'm in Ann Arbor still right now. I'm not trying to come on here and say Michigan's going to throttle Penn State. But when you look at the roster, look at the team, look at each position group, tell me one that Penn State is better in. I legitimately cannot tell you one that Penn State has.
You could debate the secondary, I guess, but
I mean, you can maybe argue secondary, but then you still got Will Johnson, who has one of the best Pro Football Focus grades out of a cornerback in the entire NCAA. So it's I don't know. I just think Michigan on paper should take care of business and win this easily. I think, Dak, like you were saying, I think 4.5, this should be what the line would be if it was a night game. I think Michigan should be at least a 6.5.
I agree.
6.5,
yeah.
That's what I put Michigan at.
And so, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a tough game. I don't want to say Penn State can't win this game. Obviously, Michigan's playing at Penn State. There's a shot. Beaver Stadium. It's an electric atmosphere. I mean, it's going to be it's rowdy. It's going to be a good game. But I do think in the third quarter, fourth quarter, Michigan pulls away in this one and wins probably by at least 10 points.
Dude, that's the thing is even if I feel the biggest question mark is, will Michigan's offense look the same? Because the hype has been JJ McCarthy. And I think the question mark is will their passing offense look the same against a good defense against Penn State?
For sure.
Because whatever you say, it's the best defense that they played by a landslide. Not even close.
It's a good defense. It's a good defense.
Sure. And just in comparison to what they played, will JJ McCarthy look the same? That doesn't even matter. Because look at what Ohio State's defense did to Penn State's offense. Look what Penn State couldn't move the ball. And Michigan, at bar minimum, is on the same level at Ohio State's defense. Even if you want to be an Ohio State homer, you can say Michigan's defense is a step down. Even then, what's Penn State scoring? 13 points. Like that's it.
I got it. Yeah, I would say I got it at 27-17 is my final score.
I was
like
gonna
that.
say if Penn, I think it's gonna be a lower scoring game, and I
Yep.
think if Penn State has any shot to win this game, it's got to be a slugfest. Like it's got to be so low scoring if Penn State's winning.
Turnovers, mistakes.
Yeah,
A gross Big Ten game, one might say.
there's no. I could see Michigan winning this game, and I think they will win this game by 10 plus points. There's no way Penn State wins this game by 10 plus points.
Agreed.
No, it'd be shocking. And then lastly here, Georgia gets 2. The ranked 2 is what I mean there, and they are taking on Ole Miss. That'll be in Athens. The spread there is 11. It's a night game in Athens. Georgia won against Missouri. They're not as scary. I'll be honest. I have not been scared by any team. When it comes to college football, like, oh my gosh. And I call me the homer. I mean, if anybody, but they haven't played anyone. This week will be extremely telling. Michigan's the one team that's gone out and just destroyed teams, but they haven't played anyone. So I don't want to just say that right away, because Georgia has played a couple of good teams. They beat Missouri, who I like Missouri. I think they're a good team, and they did win by 2 scores with 9 points. They did not cover the 15. But Georgia takes on Ole Miss. They're high flying at number 9 there. Lane Kiffin and those guys. Lane Kiffin is a very 10-2 coach. Being a 10-2, they kind of feel like Ole Miss kind of feels like the Penn State of the SEC, especially in an SEC West. I know that's all going to be disbanded next year, but LSU obviously lost to Ole Miss, but I just feel like they've been the third with Lane Kiffin, kind of that third team there that just hasn't got over the hump. Maybe New Year's Six bowl for them, but I think Georgia might be here in this too. Again, they're not ranked 1, which kind of shocked me a little bit. I guess, you look at Ohio State at the final score against a Rutgers team that had 6 wins already. Okay, give Ohio State the nod. Wasn't enough. If Georgia covers there, are they 1, guys? Let's start off there. Is Georgia covers, are they 1?
They have to be.
Well,
just because – go ahead.
It's going to be tough to argue is all I'm going to say. Like, if Georgia covers that and they're not number 1, I just don't know. I mean, I do think Ohio State's going to cover against Michigan State, but what's that saying? That's not saying anything.
Who cares?
It's saying nothing. It's just nothingness. Georgia, again, like I said, 11, 10.5 we have down here, depending on what book you look at. I think it opened up at, I had it somewhere. I think it was opened up at 12 is what it was. So the Vegas is hinting Ole Miss here, and I kind of like that. I think that Lane Kiffin is smart enough on offense to where they'll be able to score. That offense is good with Jackson Dart. A tough game on the road, obviously. I don't think they're going to win by any means. But, I think Georgia wins by probably another 9 points. They're probably 2 scores, 10 points.
I don't – I'm just stuck in this thing where I feel like last year we said something similar where it was like there's no dominant team in college football. And that was Georgia coming off of 1 title.
Watch it be Bama.
Sure. But Georgia coming off of 2 titles, and they lost a lot of guys. Of course, everyone's going to be sitting here like, well, we don't know who it is. Like, because you want switch up. Naturally, you want something different. And this kind of reminds me of Bama when they had A.J. McCarron. They were going for 3 straight, and then they lost in the kick 6. And if it was college football playoff, they get in. But it was BCS. They did not get in. I think this is kind of a similar fashion with Georgia where they've lost a lot of guys, even lost their quarterback, and now they're in a situation they can lose a game. Ole Miss does this every single year. This is a little different because they did beat LSU and it was at home. And like you said, they're kind of the Penn State where they could still go to a big bowl game, but they lost to Bama by what? It was like 14, I think. Mm-hmm. And that's when Bama was just starting to get cooking. Georgia has they only have a few statement games on their schedule. They just made a couple. I think that Florida game, in my eyes, was a statement game. That Missouri game was a statement game in my eyes. Totally. And I think,
I saw it totally. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're coming off back-to-back where they're like, hey, we're still here. I think Ole Miss, this is a game where everybody wants to take Ole Miss, and it's like Ole Miss is going to keep it close. I think they have not a shot to win, but a shot to keep it within 1 score, and Georgia's going to go in and just demolish them. Yeah, would I take them to cover? Would I bet on them? I don't know. But we do this all the time with college football where we want something different. We desperately do. We really, really do. And it's just not. It's the same. It's the same. Georgia is probably the best team in the country right now. It'll change in a few weeks, but I think they might be the best team, and they're going to take care of business against Ole Miss, and there's nothing else to say about it.
All right, should we just rip the number one then, Ohio State? I mean, I feel like there's not a ton to talk about here. I feel like
I was looking at something here. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But they shouldn't be one. That's it.
They should be. I think we all agree when we say we don't even have to waste time here. We all agree they shouldn't be one.
Yeah.
We all agree, I think, that they're probably going to cover against Michigan State this week. I mean, it's not saying much if you do. They probably should cover against Michigan State. Probably concerning if you don't. I mean, I know Michigan State's coming off a win last week. I forget who they played. Oh, Nebraska. Yeah, they beat the Huskers. But yeah,
Whatever.
I mean,
whatever.
I was going to say
that was one of the worst displays of football I've ever seen in my life.
Every team has their Super Bowl game. That was like
terrible.
weirdly their Super Bowl game.
That was terrible. Yeah.
That can take us right into them.
Yeah, and Ohio State at one playing Michigan State. Good luck, Ohio State. Yeah. So yeah, we got our can't miss picks. Last week.
I'd like to say something here.
Go ahead. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah. All right. Technically, I number one, I'd like to say I was 5-1 going into these. Okay. LSU, go Tigers all the way. That was a homer pick, and I did it because I had to ride with my boys. All right. So we can throw that one out. We can throw that one out the window. I'd never throw LSU out the window, but I'm going to throw that pick out the window. So let's not even count that. Rutgers, 18.5. They covered by 18.5. I swear to God. Okay. That was yes. That was a one-score game the entire time. Ohio State did their stupid ass shit where they always backdoor cover and they tack on some few points. They had no business with 3 minutes left driving down the field slowly and scoring. Missed that by half a point. Texas, come on, man. They were up 20.
They screwed you.
Yes. And not even that. When it went to overtime, and I was like, well, I need a stop. And then I need another field goal and a Texas score. And, of course, Kansas State was like, yeah, we're going to go for it. So I missed my picks by 1.5. Yeah, that sucks. But I still, in my book, that's a win. I'm taking that as I'm kind of a semi 2-0-1. That's what I'm calling it. So technically,
at 0-3, you're a semi 2-0-1.
I'm a semi 2-0-1. That's what I'm taking it. Yeah, we're a semi 2-0-1.
That's your record, man. You said it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much better here. I got my one win. I don't know if I'm next.
Yeah, what do you got?
Go ahead. Sorry, Stu. Yeah, I got my one win. It was minus Nebraska 3 actually. They lose. I think they lose. No, you're good. I texted that in. I think they lost by 3. Was it 20-17? We were watching it here at the crib. Terrible game. I mean, just one you don't want to watch. Georgia, they're just not what I thought they'd be. I mean, maybe they come out and smoke Ole Miss. This Carson Beck led team is number 2 for a reason. They're not number 1, so they don't cover. They only win by 9. Washington, thank God, they gave me 1. And they win by 10. It was a battle there. It was a little bloodbath there in LA, but I get my 1 there. Washington. I just think Washington's awesome. I think they're a very good team, and it'd be cool to see them go undefeated, and they could be, maybe up to a 2 seed. I think would be as far as that goes.
All right. So yeah, I had a kind of similar situation to you, Dak. Homer pick here with the Michigan minus 32.5. Probably should have covered. Purdue kind of got that cheap garbage time, last-minute touchdown at the end of the game.
Hey, man, the plays.
Stolen plays. Nice dot by Hudson Card, though, on the pass. I will say that. Nice little throw.
Austin's finest. Shout out to 512.
For real. And then Louisville, they took care of business for me against Virginia Tech. Happy to get that one. And then Kansas as well, too, correct? They beat Iowa State, right?
Yep, they did. They won. Yeah, we all kind of were raising our eyebrows at that line. I know it's away, but I agree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, that one. There we go. All right, so yeah, I'll take that, man. 2-1. I believe I was 1 for 3 last week, so I would gladly take 2 out of 3 this week. All right, so now we can get into Dak's dog.
Dak's dog
this week.
Right. I'm excited.
Let's hear it.
I swear to God, this is not just a Pac-12 award. And I also am trying to go not just a quarterback award. And trust me, folks, for all you out there listening, I'm looking for a defensive player. And I had one in mind. I thought I'd be like hopping on here, playing LSU fight song, going Harold Perkins. Harold Perkins.
He was ready.
I was so ready. I was like thinking about it. I was like, oh, hell yeah, Harold Perkins, that's Dak's dog. That didn't plan out. So whatever. We're going to go with Dylan Johnson, the Washington running back. He had 26 carries, 256 yards, and 4 touchdowns against USC. I understand that USC defense is really bad. If you're rushing for 250, yeah, come on. And your long zone, it's not like he didn't rip off a 90-yarder. 53 is obviously long, but he didn't rip off a 90-yarder. That's
a 200 more, yeah.
Crazy stat line. He's averaging like 7 yards per carry on the year. That's a dog. So Dak's dog. Dylan Johnson, come on the pod, man. Like, come on.
We gotta see how many IG followers he's got. No
disrespect, but how many people are asking you to come on a pod? Can't be too many.
Minimal.
Yeah, in between practice, all we're asking is for a light little Tuesday night.
Bro, first pack. I feel like at this point, first Pac-12 player that comes on here, if we get one, they get a $100 gift card for sure. That's gonna be a huge moment.
Yeah, that's a huge moment.
Let me ask around the studio as to what we can get gift card wise, because that is.
Yeah, that'd be
we got some trade. I could get them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's Dak's dog. I like it. Something like that. We're working on that Bud Light deal. Yeah. So picks, boys. Are we going into picks to finish her off?
Yeah, let's wrap up with the picks.
I'll just do mine right quick.
Oh, you go ahead. No, you're excited. Go ahead. You guys don't have mine, so it's fine. I'll finish it.
Oh no, I know yours. Yours is sick. Mine is I've already touched on it. I have to just do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm doing USC 16.5.
That's what we're going with.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I respect it. I'm going with the Mizzou 2.5 is mine. I already said it. Plus 2.5.
That's what I was. So that's going to be one of my picks. Wait, can I? You know what? No, I have to do it. I said I have to do it, and so I'm going to do it.
You got to do it. Yeah, you already said it.
I got to do it. Yeah, I got to do it. I already said it. We're going USC.
No, you said it earlier. You said it now. You doubled down.
I know. Yeah, we're going USC 16.5. What are you going to?
I said I'm going Mizzou 2.5.
Okay.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going out. I'm just getting a little crazy here. I'm gonna get out of the Power 5. I'm going to move to the Marshall Thundering Herd. This was sparked up because, like I said, a big uniform guy. They're wearing all black home jerseys. It's all the tributes to the ones. If you've seen the movie, We Are Marshall, the tribute game to the ones that passed RIP. In all seriousness, they came off a clobbering against Appalachian State down there in Boone, North Carolina. I'm going with the 2.5 at home. They're getting 2.5 plus 2.5 against Georgia Southern. Give me that all day. It's a meaningful game in West Virginia. I'm going with the Thundering Herd. I don't know. I just got a feeling. It's just what it is. Do I really know too much about Marshall football? No, I don't. I've done enough research here, and I just think it's a vibe game. Give me that. I'm feeling it.
No, I love the vibe games. Any vibe game, jersey
all
game,
black uniforms, all the
fired coach game, anything.
Home game. Give me the home points. I usually am an idiot and like a away favorite. Let's change the script here. I'm going with the Marshall Thundering Herd winning against Georgia Southern. Give me the 2.5. I'll take that at home.
I like it, fellas. I like my pick. So amount again. So
picks we got. Dak.
You got the riskiest pick, Dak, for sure. Risky.
Yeah, I have Dak. Dak's going 16.5 USC against Oregon because everyone loves it. Everyone does.
Yeah, so Stu, I like yours. Go ahead.
Plus 2.5, Mizzou.
Yeah, and I'm getting the plus 2.5 at home.
Is Mizzou really 2.5 now?
That was 1.5, but whatever.
Let me check it real quick. We got it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get official eyes on that. The best book I've seen from
it's 1.5. Yeah.
Okay. I still like it.
Yeah. I got I think a DraftKings book at 2.5 for my Marshall Thundering Herd. So I'm taking that. We're going through DraftKings. Hell of an episode, guys. Hope to see more change in the playoff committee. I hope they get off their ass and actually do something next week. We will see some shakeup, obviously, with some of these games that we mentioned. But looking forward to getting into it. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. This is week 10? Are we in week 10, fellas? Week 10?
Week
We're
11.
going into week 11.
Week
Big
11.
Big
My
week.
fault. Week 10 NFL, week 11 college football. We will be back next week. Next Wednesday, we will release our next episode. It's the Reaction Committee with you fellas, Kreitz, Deck, and Stu. We're out of here. There we go.
All right.